Welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to look at how to build this simple HTML form that you can see here. So it's a basic form just saying send a message, and then we have a full name, email, and message. That's very simple. And then we have a submit button here that we can send, and then it has a little bit of a hover effect on it. Okay, so on your left I just have the final project opened, and on your right I have my code editor Visual Studio open, and then I'm in a form that I've named form tutorial, a folder instead. I'm on a folder that I've named form tutorial. Okay, so in this folder we just want to go ahead and then create our file. So we need index.html, and then if you want we can create a folder and then you name that CSS, and in it you can have a file called style.css. Okay, right. So yeah, that'll be it for the folder structure. We are not building any complex application. It's just this simple form that we'll be doing. And so inside your HTML you can just go ahead and generate the HTML template, and then we have the doc type, the body, and the header. Okay, right. So that's, I'm just going to go ahead and close this sidebar out, and then for the form we just have to get a class for the entire body of the form. So let's create a div, and then let's give that a class of form or contact form. It's class, and then let's give it contact, and then let's use comma case for the naming. And inside this div, so basically this contact form is for the background that you are seeing. As you can see, the form is, the elements of the form are in some form of a container in there, and that's just for, that's what we are labeling as contact form. Okay, now we want to place in our form inside this main container right here. So we can use the HTML semantic tags as form, and this form has an action. Okay, so we are not going to pass in any value for now, but basically the action will take some kind of a URL to maybe where you are posting this form. So maybe you have some API that you'll be that the form data will be posted to, so you can pass that into the action. And then forms will usually come with a method, and then it will be post. Okay, so this will be like you're posting the value of the form elements to the API. Okay, yeah. So right after our form, one thing you can see is that we have the form element. Okay, but then we have this h1 or h2 that just says send a message. So that's exactly what we are going to do. So we are going to make it an h2, and then it should just say send, and see it send a message. Okay, and that's about it. And then the next thing we want to do is to now put in the individual form inputs. So I'm going to define a div, and I'm going to give it a class of input. Let's give it a class of, let's say, input dash box, and within the inputs we want to put in the individual elements. Okay, so you can use the the HTML, and then you just have input. Now we just have type of text. So our name will have a type of text, this will have a type of email, and then the message will just have, or the text area will have a type of message. Okay, all right. So now let's just give this a name, and let's just give it let's set that to name, because you want this to correspond with the kind of value that you'll be passing in there. And then you can give it a placeholder, because on it we have the placeholder as full name. So that's just exactly what we are going to do. Set our placeholder, and then we're going to put in the full and then name. Now you can copy this and paste, so you can just highlight it, and then if you're on a Mac you can press shift option, then the arrow down, and then you can duplicate the code a number of times, and then you can just edit that. So the next one will be the email, type of email, and then the name should also correspond with that. So we are going to give it a name of email, and then here this will be a message. So this for the text area, I think we just have to just get rid of that, and I'm going to add in a text area, and then that also has a name of message. And then what we want to do is to also give it a placeholder of write your message or put in your message. Okay, so let's give it a placeholder, and then let's type in your message. Now you don't have to give this an ID, it's not compulsory. If you have nothing unique that you'll be passing to the text area, that's fine. Yeah, so I think that is it. But the last part of this form is the submit button. So put to the type of submit, so I'm just going to add that. So input, this is not the type of text but rather submit, and then we want to give the name of submit as well. Name of submit. Let me just scroll that up, and then we want to also give it a value of send. Okay, we're going to give this thing a value of submit, but because the HTML input tag, once you've given it a type of submit, the value here will automatically be submit. Okay, but then we want to change it to send, so we want to give it a value of send. Okay, all right, and save. Okay, so now I'm just going to increase the width of this, right? Yeah, I'm going to increase this a little bit wider, and then what I'm going to do is to open back the sidebar and then open this on live server. All right, so as you can see, we have our form in here. Now we have the placeholder for full name, but we don't have that of the email and the message, so let's just go in there and fix it. So we have placeholder text area, so full name, we have so I think there's an S here that shouldn't be, and that of the text area shouldn't also. So if you save that, yeah, so this should be email and not full name. So let's give it placeholder of full name. Yeah, so if this is all displaying, I think we are all done with our markup, and then we can just go ahead to write our CSS. Alright, so now that we are done with our HTML or our markup, the next thing we want to do is to write our CSS. Okay, so for the CSS, we just want to grab the body, and that's the HTML, and then we want to give it a height of 100%. Okay, now we want also to align the items to the center, as you can see on the final project here. So what we want to do is to give it a margin of 0, and then we want to display flex, so we want that displayed as flex, and then we want to align the items to center, align items to center, and then we want to justify content to center. Okay, justify content to the center, and that should just move it to the center. Okay, good. Now the next thing we want to do is to access the h2 element, so which this h2 that we placed here with the send a message, so that's what we want to style next. So what we want to do is just grab h2. It's the only h2 in our markup, so you don't have to worry about. If you had other other header 2 elements in your HTML, you would give that a class so that you can easily access or give that an ID. Okay, so I want to give this a font family, and then I'm looking for this Franklin Gohic medium, and then I want to give it a font weight of 600. Font dash weight, and I want to give that of 600. Now, if you can see from the final project, this text is white. I'm not going to give it a text of white until we've given our form a background. Okay, right. So the next thing we want to do is to access the form. Okay, so this is what we are styling now. We are styling this form. Okay, this form right here. So we are going to style from here to the end of the form. So this is the form element that we are styling right now. So in for our form, we want to give it a background of black. So background, let's give it that color of let's just say background. Okay, and let's give it a hex value of 000. That's for black. And then let's give it a so we give it a padding of 55 pixels. So let's give it a padding of 55 pixels, and then we will give it a border radius of 10 pixels. So let's give it a border radius. So border dash radius of 10 pixels. And now that we have given our form a background, let's just go ahead and add a color to our h2. So let's give it a color of white, and then yeah, and there we have it. Okay, so the next thing we want to style is the input. Okay, so we had a div with a class of input. So you can see we want to style this element. So what I want to do is you can just copy this class right here so that you don't put in a wrong class. And then that's what we are doing. We are styling that class of input, and we want to display it flex. So we want to display that flex. And then what we want to do is to give it a flex direction of column. Okay, so as you can see, all of these are spread on a single line. So what we want to do is give it a flex dash direction, one that of column. And then what we want to do is to give a gap. Okay, so you can see these elements stuck together. We want to put some spacing between them, so you can just give gap, and then you can set that to 10 pixels. All right, so then we have this 9 separations between the individual input boxes. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to access that of the input and that of the text area. Okay, and then we can then style that of the send or the submit button differently. Yeah. Okay, so now we want to access this class, and then we want all of the input as well as the text area. Okay, good. So want to give them a width of 100%. Okay, so they should take 100% width of their parent element. And then what we want to do also is to give them a padding of 10 pixels, give them some borders and border radius. Okay, so let's give them padding, let's give that 10 pixels, and let's give them that border of 1 pixel solid, solid, and let's give them a color of CCC. So that's the hex value. You can use any other color you want, and then we want them to have that rounded corner as we have it in the final product. So let's give it border radius, and then we can set that to 5 pixels. Yes, and so you can see we have that border radius of the rounded corners that we have there. Okay, all right, so the next thing we want to do is to access our submit input, and so for that we want to access the input box, but in this case we want to access the input that has the type equal to of submit. Okay, and then we want nope, and then we want to have our styling for just the submit. Okay, so we don't want this particular styling to apply to the rest of our input. So let's set the cursor to pointer, and now if you hover on it, you should see that your cursor is a pointer. Yep. And now the next thing we want to do also is to give it a background color of that blue that you see here. Okay, so you have a background of blue, so let's give it a background, and let's set it to the hex value is 500BE4. Good. And then that changes, we want to take away the border, so I'm going to give it a border of none. As you can see, this white outline that is there, I'm going to take that out, so I'm going to give it a border of none and save. And then now you can see that we don't have that white outline that you were seeing. We also do want to give the text a color of white, so white, and then you can see it there. And then let's give it a font weight of 600 as well. Let's give it a font weight of 600. Yeah, and that looks better. We can also give it a transition of with a background color. Okay, so let's give it a transition, and then we want to give it a 0.3 seconds ease. Yeah. Oh, transition 0.3 ease and save. Okay, so as you can see, you see that transition take place there. Now, so what we want to do is to put a hover effect on the button. So what we want to do is to still access the input class, and then we can basically just copy this, and then okay, and then what we want to do is to give it a background of white on any hover effect at all. So anytime it is hovered upon, okay, so you have to add hover here, and then anytime it's hovered on, you can have that effect. Okay, so want on hover, want to give it a background of white, and then we want the color, the text color, to be black, so we want to give it the color of black, which is 000. And then we also want to give it a border of 2 pixels solid and the blue color, so let's give it a border, and let's set that to 2 pixel and then solid, and we can just copy this color right here. Okay, so copy that and paste and save. Okay, so on hover, you save it. When you hover upon your button, you should see it animate a little bit with the white background and the text turn black. Okay, so this is the final product, and this is where we have gotten to with our code. Okay, right, so once we are done styling the form, and as we can see, our form looks exactly like the final product. And so what one thing we want to do next is to head back to our HTML. And as you can see, in our HTML we had a div with a class of form, contact form. And so what we want to do is to add some form of animation to this entire contact form. Okay, so what we want to do is to head to the resource that we'll be using, which is animation on scroll. Animation on scroll. So this will basically add animations to your form anytime you scroll up to the form. Okay, so we want to head to their GitHub page. So this is the documentation hosted on GitHub pages. So I want to scroll, and then you can see the animation. So this is kind of what you'll be applying to your form. Okay, and they'll animate exactly like this, and you can add a little bit of modification to your animation style. So once you head to the bottom, where we have the links to the resources. Okay, so we have their CDN resources. So we have this link right here for the CSS. So you want to grab that and head back to your HTML. Okay, I want to make sure that you're pasting that link above your CSS. Okay, so you want that to load before your CSS, and I want to grab the JavaScript file, the link to the JavaScript, and then you want to paste that as the last thing just before your body, the closing of your body, okay, on your HTML, and then we want to save. Okay, so once this is done, if you look beneath, there's a way to initialize AOS on your device or on your work. So what we want to do is create a JavaScript file. So we can name it main.js, and in here we want to initialize the AOS. So as it is done here, you want to write AOS dot. Nope, I'm not looking for no audio scheduler, so let's just get rid of that. It is AOS, and then we want init, and then inside there we'll just pass in an object, and then we want to set the offset. Okay, so let's offset 400, and then let's give it a duration of 1 second. Okay, and then you can save. Right, so this is basically all of the code that you'll be writing in this main.js. You can like play with these values to see how it will suit the kind of animation that you like. And so the next thing we want to do is to head back to our HTML file, and what we want to do is to link the HTML file to the script, okay, to the JavaScript file that we've created, and make sure that's beneath the AOS file. Okay, so we want to add a source, and then we are just linking up to our main.js. Okay, and save. Now, as you can see in their documentation, there are various ways to like select the kind of animations that you want. The attribute that you'll be passing to the div or the class is data dash AOS, and then you just pass in the kind of animations that you want to apply. Okay, so as you can see, there are several of them. You can try them out and choose the one that best fits your project. Okay, so in my case, let's just go up, and our contact form, I'm going to pass data dash AOS, and then I'm going to set that to let's see, fade up. Okay, and then save. Okay, so now let's head to our final project. I'm just going to refresh, and then let's see in the animation, let's see, did we save? Okay, let's save. Fade, let's check if that's the right word. Is it fade dash up or fade up? Okay, so it's fade dash up. Okay, so let's add the dash there and save. And let's go back to our file and refresh, and yes, and now you can see the animation there. I'm just going to change this up to left, and let's see what happens. save, and then as you can see the animation just fades from the left. Can And then you can save, and then you see it coming down, and then let's try right. Okay, so you can come in here and just play with the value. We had 1 second, and we've made it 2 seconds, and then you can see it animate slowly in there. Okay, yeah, so that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe so that I always bring you more content on this kind of topics.